Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon, ma'am.
Hope
Good
all of you are
afternoon,
doing
ma'am.
wonderfully. Good afternoon, Ameya. Good afternoon to one and all. Have the CSC 1 students joined? I believe they were in their ADA class.
Yes, ma'am, we have joined.
Okay. Okay, I think in that case, we should start with the session today. And those of you who would be joining in after this probably will have to tune in through YouTube session because I won't be able to admit them in once I start sharing my screen. So I would request Nanak to kindly share the details of the streaming with, yeah, and the CRs to also circulate their respective attendance sheets. But that does not mean that once you've marked your attendance, after that you will disappear. Okay, the topic that we're taking up for discussion today is business letters. So I'm sure you have some idea about what business letters are. Can anyone tell me as to what would we possibly be talking about here? What do we mean by business correspondence or business letters? Why do we write them? What kind of letters are these?
Ma'am, they are used for communication between the organizations.
Yeah. Hmm. Yes, certainly. Ameya, you are right. They are used to communicate between organizations. If you have to communicate with your clients, with your customers, with other banking agencies, non-banking agencies, governmental bodies, for anyone for that matter, in order to conduct your business, in order to carry out your official work, then you would be writing business letters, right? And these are formal letters, these are official letters that are written and recorded for future use. So there's a reference number. There are these letters would be filed for future reference so that one would know and have the records of the various dealings with customers and clients, right? So it can be a short kind of a letter or a long one, and sometimes we may have to plan it before we write it because once the written word is there, then it becomes a very uh, formal, official kind of a statement. And therefore, everything that you write, everything that is expressed in the form of writing carries a lot of weight. And so you have to also sometimes do a lot of thinking before you actually write a letter of complaint or maybe letter of claim or letter of adjustment. These are all different kinds of business letters. In order to conduct your business, you may require loans, you may require funding, you may require certain goods and services. Sometimes your customers may not be satisfied with your products or services, so they may write a letter of claim, or you might write a letter of claim to one of your business partners or your people with whom you engage, your clients, and then settlement of those claims adjustment of those claims is also carried out with in the form of correspondence. So sometimes prior thinking, prior planning, because then these are permissible evidence in the court of law, and everything that you write therefore has a lot of importance because it bears your signature. It bears the signature of the person who is writing that letter, issuing that letter, sending out that letter. And therefore sometimes, some thinking, some planning has to be there. And when we write the business letter, the writer is creating what? He's creating a one sided conversation. It's like he has to anticipate what the reader can ask him, what could be the possible queries and concerns of the person who would be reading the letter, of the person who would be receiving the letter. And keeping those questions in mind, those concerns in mind, which he is able to anticipate, he should be able to provide those via his letter. Through the letter, he should be able to address all those things which can come up in the mind of the receiver of that letter. And generally, a letter which is carelessly written, it can hurt your prospects, it can hurt the company's fortune, because as they say, a careless word can kindle strife. So maybe it does not go down well with your clients, it does not go down well with your customers, and they fail to uh, you know sort of comply and give you the required loan, or they are not very happy with the way you have expressed yourself, and maybe uh, you're not able to generate their trust, and therefore you may not be able to secure an order if your letter is not properly presented, properly written. And these letters help you to sustain your business relationships, right? So when you have a customer, a long-standing customer, with who has been dealing with you for a very long time, has been seeking your services or your products, then you would not want to break that tie. You would want to keep having a good rapport with that customer, and similarly with other businesses, business partners, or your customers and clients. you know so you would want to engage with them for a long duration, because in the business world, trust is a very important thing. So a lot of times, a whole lot of money exchanges hands only on the basis of trust, right? So people take things on credit. They might not pay you instantly, so they might take a whole lot of products from you and maybe make the payment at a later date. But then, why did you give the money to them, or why did you give the products to them? You gave things to them because there was an element of trust, there was an element of credibility that that business has been able to create with you, right? Because of your long standing relationship with them. So you've had a fairly long interaction, or an understanding of what are the things they expect out of you, and probably based on that rapport, based on that trust, you can lend them the money, lend them the loan, lend them the things on credit, the money for which can be paid later to you, right? So that's how a whole lot of businesses flourish, right? These small time shopkeepers, that's how they get their goods. They don't pay instantly, they have to keep a record of all the things that they've taken, and once those things are sold out and they get their margins, and then they have to give back the money to the person from whom, or the things, the money to the person for whom they've taken the things on credit. And what are the purposes of these business letters? There's so many purposes that these letters achieve, right? Sometimes you may have to inform your customer or your client about your new product or service. You want to tell them that, okay, we're coming up with something interesting which may be of use to them. So for all information purposes, you can use a business letter. To congratulate them, You can use a business letter. Maybe some of your business partners have been able to get some good contract. Again, you want to establish a good relationship, and you can send in a letter congratulating them. We make inquiries through business letters. Would you be able to provide this? Would you be able to provide that? Right? So sometimes inquiries are made using these letters. Orders are placed, right? I would be needing this. I would be needing these many computers. I would be needing these many chairs, right? So requests are made. You collect your dues with the help of business letters. So if someone has been taking money from you on credit, or someone has been taking a loan from you, then you would want to collect it at a later stage. So in order to collect that, also you write a letter. Sometimes you receive a damaged good or a damaged product, or things are not up to the mark. Maybe there were some issues pertaining to packaging, some issues pertaining to, say, transport, or it wasn't transported properly, or there was something, some part of it got chipped, or whatever be the reasons, and you are not happy with their, say, their customer service. So you can also write a letter of complaint, right, to the business with whom you have been dealing, and who has been providing you those goods and services. And in order to address that complaint, in order to address that issue, we then issue a letter of adjustment. So claim letters are made wherein you're seeking some kind of a reimbursement, or some kind of a settlement, or some kind of a replacement of that good or service. First you make a complaint letter, then you write a claim letter, and then to settle it, we write a letter of adjustment. So this is the way in which you don't want to break your ties with your customers just because of one wrong delivered good, right? So you would want to make it up to them. So how would you make it up to them? By telling them, apologizing for, say, a delay in service, or delay in sending out a particular parcel, or maybe the packaging wasn't proper, and therefore the goods got damaged, or something of that kind. And then you would um try to tell them that you would want to replace it with another shipment, things like that. So letters of adjustment are written, and also sales letters are written to sell your products, services, and schemes. So business letters are so very important for all kinds of interactions with the external world. uh, People who are into running a company, people who are running an organization, a venture, a business, they would want to interact with other businessmen, customers, people from different departments, government or non-governmental. For all such contacts that they have to make with the external world, they would be writing these business letters, as they serve also to be recorded, to be filed for future reference. So you tend to keep them in your files, so that later on you can go back to these letters. And they're also used to build goodwill, right? So a long relationship can be established, a relationship of trust, of credibility, of goodwill with your customers and clients. And that's how a lot of businesses run. Nowadays, what is happening is that with the advent of technology, we see that a whole lot of writing is not happening literally on paper in a hard copy, but then a whole lot of interactions are also taking place online via mail, right? So a lot of these, the paradigm has shifted, and a lot of these letters are now emailed to customers, emailed sales letters, services letters, scheme letters are emailed. And you touch base with your customers and clients via email, right? So you don't necessarily have to be writing a letter. But then still, a whole lot of governmental enterprises today also, they function with the help of business letters, and everything is put on paper, everything is recorded and filed for future reference. And of course, you need the company letterhead for conducting and writing these letters, right? So most companies print their own stationery. They create their own stationery for the purpose of writing these letters, wherein the complete details of the organization are mentioned right at the top. You know, the name, the registered office, the fax, the URL, the website, the telephone, the fax number, etc. All the information, the website of the company would be mentioned right at the on the top of the page. It's a good quality paper that you use, a neat and high quality printing is there, because you want to send out a good image. You know, you want to reflect and project a good image to your customers and clients. So these all kinds of exchanges will happen on that paper, right, which is called a letterhead. So that letterhead will be utilized for all practical purposes, which we've just discussed. And I hope you've been able to understand what has been discussed so far. Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
great. So, what is a business letter? As already discussed, it's a formal letter, it's an official letter. It's not your personal letter, it's not your letter that you're going to write to your family and friends, which could be written on any piece of paper, right? It would, it's not, it won't, those letters won't require a letterhead, right? So you can write them on any piece of paper, any kind of quality of paper, because they are informal letters and for personal use. These are going to be a part of the whole communication and correspondence that takes place with the client and customers, and as I said, will be recorded and filed. Therefore, the language has to be a formal one. Proper planning and thinking has to be done in order to write one. And sometimes you know, you maybe in a tight spot because of receiving things which are not up to the mark, but then you cannot show your anger or animosity, or be rude or be offensive to the other business, you know, or to that company, by writing in a letter full of abuse or something like that. Again, you have to ensure that you don't get personal and you don't hit below the belt. You keep your language very neutral and courteous and considerate, and it's a formal piece of communication, and therefore utmost attention has to be paid to the kind of language you use, the kind of words you use. And of course, most of these letters are written in a conversational style. It is almost like you having a conversation with the person to whom you're writing a letter, right? uh, and you address all the important concerns, you know, the factual concerns very correctly. So it basically, all these business letters also have you know, the same tenets as those of a the principles of communication, the C's of communication. Your letters must have a you attitude. Never ever try to boast of your company, of your goods and services, and exaggerate things, or you know, blow things out of proportion and show a self-centered we kind of an attitude. Rather, always talk in terms of how the customer would be benefited. Rather, always talk about how the other people will get something out of it, you know. So the you attitude has to be a part of your business letters. Just excuse me for a moment. exit. I'm afraid I just got exited out of this meet. So let me begin by sharing my screen again. So are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? Okay. So, you attitude is a must. Your letters have to be clear and concise, correct and complete, emphasize the positive side, never ever talk in negative terms, and be as courteous and considerate as possible when you write a business letter, right? So, your image is reflected in your letter, and therefore, you would want to make sure that, everything that you write is well meaning, right? And never forget that your reader is a real person. Someone out there is going to be reading it. So don't write anything which is going to hurt him, offend him. Anything cold or impersonal in your letters should never be written or expressed. And you have to keep the reader's interest in mind, and make sure that you express yourself very courteously. And sometimes you have to use your tact, you have to use your common sense, and make sure you address their concerns also in a very tactful manner, by presenting them the right solution to the problem, the right outcome to the problem. And never try to be boastful in your letter or even be timid. There's no need for you to be timid either, that you try to tell them that they are the boss and they can call the shots. Even that is not required. Yes, you have to project professionalism in your letter. The tone of your letter should be fine, should be respectful, should be considerate and courteous. And yet, you should be assertive enough to put across your point, in an affirmative manner, in an emphatic manner, right? And generally, a lot of these business letters are persuasive in nature, wherein you're trying to sell your scheme, or you're trying to sell your product or your service, or maybe seeking a loan. So you have to persuade the other person into lending you money on credit or whatever it is. So majority of your business letters you would find are persuasive in nature, wherein some kind of a persuasive element is there, or some kind of a request is being made, or or a persuasion is being carried out. And we have to make write letters which are reader oriented and not writer oriented, wherein the focus is not you who's writing the letter, but the focus should remain on the person who would be reading the letter. So be respectful, proofread your letter, make sure there are no errors, right? No miscalculation, even when you're settling a claim, because these are all written documents, as I said, admissible in the court of law. So you don't want any mistakes to be there, right? So you might have to double check your dates, prices, your calculations, how much money is to be returned, how much money is to be given, all of that. So there shouldn't be any room for errors, any factual errors, or any miscalculations, or where you're not quoting your prices correctly. And you have to maintain the accuracy with regards to date and serial numbers also. What would be the date on which the letter has been written? That has to be precise. The reference number given to your letter has to be correct one, right? And take some time for proofreading your letter and making sure that there are no errors in your letter. Because and this is something that we need to do with all other documents which bear our name. Any letter, any document, your resume, anything that you are going to sign, make sure you proofread it properly and then send it out. Now, there are various formats which are prevalent, right? These days, the full block format is the one which is the most common one and commonly used. And the full block format is very computer friendly, friendly, your laptop friendly, your mobile friendly. So everything, all the text that we write. So there are different components of a business letter, as you already know. We have the sender's address, the inside address, the salutation, the body, the complimentary close of the subscription, and then the enclosures, the copy notation, and all those things, attention notation, subject line. So everything has to be kept flush with the left margin in the full block format. And there are spaces between the paragraphs, and the paragraphs are not indented, right? So notations of enclosures are also mentioned. So this is the most commonly used kind of a format, which I will be showing you different samples also, and also all the formats also. And the important characteristics of a good business letters are these. We've already discussed, and I don't think this requires any more repetition. Be brief. We are dealing with busy people. You can't write lengthy messages, right? You shouldn't really be beating around the bush, dilling dallying about what is to be done and how it is to be done. Rather be straightforward, be upfront, come down straight to the point. And that ways you will be able to put across your point in a very terse manner. So be as brief as possible, as concise and precise as possible. Make sure all that you write is very clearly understood. There shouldn't be any ambiguity in your expression, in your statements, right? That the reader gets a different sense out of it, is not able to understand it, or becomes confused reading your letters. So there has to be an element of clarity in how you are presenting your thoughts there, and accuracy with regards to facts and calculations. Make sure everything has been checked and double checked. Politeness in your tone, consideration for the addressee who would be receiving the letter, reading the letter. And depending on who would be receiving the letter, you have to see how much of jargon will go into your letter. Jargon, I'm sure all of you know by now, is your technical terminology, the technical vocabulary in your domain. So how much of a technical vocab or uh, technical terminology would go down well with your reader, you would know. So if you're writing people who are familiar with those terms, you can always make use of those terminologies. But whenever you feel you're dealing with a customer who might not be aware of certain technical terms you might use in your letter, so tone it down, keep it simple, write the familiar words, things that they would be familiar with. So as I've already discussed this, keep things brief, clear, avoid ambiguity, avoid your letter to be vague, quantify everything. Quantify. Don't make vague kind of abstract kind of remarks that I need a whole lot of products for the next quarter, as we would be having a huge demand. What do you mean by whole lot of? You have to clearly specify how much, how many, right? So give numbers. So be very specific with regards to your requirement. Otherwise, it will create a lot of confusion, and we are not dealing here with something which does not carry any repercussions. We're dealing here with a lot of money and stuff. Everything, a lot is at stake. So you can't just write things which are vague, or where any kind of a meaning can be deduced, rather, and then you feel that, oh, you should have clearly specified that this was what the requirement was, and then you find yourself in trouble, right? So keep the language conversational, plain, natural. Don't make it artificial, don't make it decorative. Those days are gone. Earlier people used to write officious language, very decorative language, very very formal language. Nowadays nobody writes like that. the expression is no longer trite, it's much more lucid. There is greater flow in the letters. It's more like you're engaging in a conversation with your reader. And even the serious matter has to be presented in a relaxed way, where you don't hurt someone else's sentiments. So avoid use the familiar style, and whichever is common, you go for it. Avoid exaggerative language, bombastic language, over the top kind of language. Avoid ambiguity, avoid the use of obsolete words, difficult words, complex words. Use the familiar ones, right? And mention the facts which are true and genuine. Politeness is the key, right? For a good business letter, it has to be written with a lot of courtesy. So generously use words like thanks, I regret, please, my pleasure. These can be used in most of your letters. And even if you're writing letters of request or complaint, never ever be rude or unpleasant in your expression. And consideration for the addressee is very important. The person is a real person who would be reading it, receiving it. What do you think is the post of that person? What is his designation? Is he placed higher than you, lower than you? What would be the mental level of that receiver, reader? Accordingly, you will be able to ascertain the language you would be employing in your letter. And I told you about this already. It would again depend on the reader how much of jargon to have or not have in your letter. And the you attitude is a must in all your business letters. Avoid saying my, mine, our, ours, us. Talk more in terms of you. Talk more in terms of how they would be benefited, that their goods are ready, that they are out for shipment, and that they'll be happy to receive them. So, you have to give your reader the importance. That is very, very important. Focus on their needs, their purposes, their interests instead of your own. Don't start by saying, our company takes great pride in the products we create. That kind of attitude. Nobody wants to listen to all of that. But we are very happy, and again, we are very happy. Instead, say you would be receiving, and I'm sure you would be looking forward to it. So where the importance is given to the reader. So the recipient oriented style, where you are keeping the receiver's interest in the forefront, receiver's purpose in mind. That kind of tone is called you attitude, and that is what we need to display. Now this is an example of you attitude. Instead of saying we are glad we can now send our tape recorders to you, where the emphasis on you, your tape recorders, you are saying, putting the things in a different way. You're saying you would be glad to know that your tape recorders are ready for sale. So that you attitude has a greater impact, right? It shows empathy. It shows that you are taking, extra pains. You're going an extra mile for your for the people out there. And sometimes it may not help. If someone makes a mistake, then you have to again minimize the ill feeling. So some mistake has happened, there you take the onus on yourself. Then you can write in terms of we, right? So instead of saying you have caused a problem, say we have a problem here. We will not be, right? So wherever there is a reason for you to congratulate others, or take pride in someone else's involvement in your business, give them all the consideration and the importance that they deserve by reflecting a you attitude. But wherever there is a mistake that has happened in that transaction, there the expression would change, and you would instead of saying displaying a you attitude, there you can talk in terms of we. So this is the you attitude and the impersonal attitude, right? So you should never use the type of paper for photocopiers. You have not connected the wires properly. This is the you attitude, where you are taking, just blaming someone.
It's a negative expression where you are blaming someone and saying that this is not how it is to be done. Rather, in such cases, adopt an impersonal attitude, right? So just present it in a very impersonal tone. Correctness and completeness, thoroughness, all the details have to be there. It has to be complete in all respect. Evaluate everything, double check your facts and phrases. Make sure there are no abstract or general expressions or any ambiguities, no spelling mistakes, no grammar mistakes. And again, as I said, this is the difference between what is abstract and what is specific, what is vague and what is not vague. So we need a large office is very vague, it's very abstract. But when we say we need at least 10,000 square feet, you've gone down to the specific. You've mentioned and quantified everything. You've given a very specific idea of how big an office you require. So then the whole matter becomes more concrete, more complete and correct. I hope I'm making sense to all of you. And I hope you're not going very fast and everything is sinking in.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I have to go a little fast because then this is just the the manner, the things, the theory behind business letters and what is important and what is not, and therefore you should know these things. But then eventually the components and those things will also come up soon. So avoid negative words, negative connotations. Don't hurt, don't offend, don't use unpleasant words. Replace the unpleasant words with mild terms and expressions. Show positivity in your letters. Stress what is rather than what will be, and what is not and what will not be. So adopt a positive approach. So tell what you've done and what you can do instead of what you have not done and what you cannot do. Instead of saying, creating a negative message that we're sorry we've not been able to do this, or we've not been able to handle your order for this quarter. This is never say that we will be able to provide you only this much, and we will provide you the remaining items in the maybe next week. So you are to talk in positive terms rather than showing your inability and your negative thing. So you, instead of saying, this is again an example of the same, we never change damaged goods, this is a very negative. You can create a more positive, we may exchange the purchased goods provided they are in good condition. This is a more positive approach which will help you to sustain in the business world for longer. So again, courtesy and consideration, being polite, avoiding being rude, these will generate trust, respect, and sustain your relationship, for a longer time. It's a business relationship after all, and you would want to be there in the market for a long haul. And avoid a rude reply, you know, and try to present things in a cool, favorable, and a reasonable frame of mind. So this is what is your indifferent attitude has caused us great loss. This is showing, you being very offensive. But if you revise it, you can, say, had you been a bit more careful, we could have avoided this 20% loss. This is a more courteous way of putting it across. So also use these sorry, thanks, pleasure, and all these, as generously as possible. So you can say, many thanks for your letter dated so and so. Kindly respond to our request for this. Please refer to our order dated. You will be pleased to know that we appreciate your prompt response to our. We are sorry that we may not be able to grant you. Again, this is a slightly negative one. You can put it in a more positive way. So avoid artificial and angry expressions like these. Please permit to say that. We beg to state that never has there been nor there will be a customer as good as you. I simply cannot understand your negligence. You have no intention of allowing this state of affairs to continue. Of course, some of these are all right. Some of these can be avoided, and you have to ensure that your expression is right. Coherence is the way the paragraph is structured, each idea leading to the next one, logical connection in the flow of thought. All that is important so that there is no ambiguity. And these are the formats: block, simplified, modified block, and semi block format. So the block format, I've already told you, the full block is where everything is flush with the left margin written on the left side. And the end punctuation marks are not there in this letter. You won't be writing comma, full stop, and all those things after salutation, after your complimentary close. And no, it's in the full block, there is, after the salutation it is there, and it is in there in the complimentary close. In others it is missing. We'll come to that. So the finer details are there in the block format. The date is there, the address is there, the salutation, the paragraph, everything is on the left margin, left side. The words in the paragraph are not indented, right? Different parts and paragraphs of the body letter are typed in double spacing. So each paragraph, they would be double spaced. And within each part and paragraph, single spacing is preferred. So this is what the block format looks like. Did you see this? There is a comma after the salutation. In very formal letters, we don't write a comma, we write a colon. In the full block format, dear sir, colon. So colon is also symbolic of a very formal letter. Now, on the left side, the address, then the date, then the inside address or the address of the addressee, then the salutation, then the body, then the complimentary close, and then the enclosure notation. This is the simplified block. Now, in the simplified block, what is the special feature? It does not have a salutation. It does not have a salutation. This is the difference, right? No dear sir, dear ma'am, dear so and so. And it includes the subject line in capital letters. That is important. So instead of a salutation, you will have a subject line, and that too in capital letters. And there is no complimentary close. So this is what it looks like. There's no salutation here, if you can see this. Balance payment already made is the subject line, and that too in capitals. No dear sir, no dear ma'am, and no yours sincerely, cordially, whatever. So complimentary clause is also missing. This is a simplified style of writing a letter. This is the modified block format. I hope you're able to understand what is being discussed here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So in the modified block format, what is the difference? The heading and the complementary clause in the signature block are all aligned vertically with the right margin. Heading here means the letterhead, the sender's address, and the complementary clause and the signature. They're all on the right side. Rest of the elements are on the left side. This is what the modified block format looks like. It was prevalent earlier. Some people may continue to use it today, but then this is not the common one being used majorly. The heading here is the sender's address, the letterhead information. So it is on the right, the complimentary close, yours sincerely, is on the right, and the signature part is on the left side. And this is the semi block format. Now, what is the difference in this one? This is a style which has gone totally out of style. Nobody is using semi block. This is what it looks like. Again, the send heading or the sender's address on the right, the complimentary close on the right. And then the only difference here between the modified block and this one is that the paragraphs are indented. The paragraph is indented in this one. The body is indented, which is not the case here. Here it is flush with the left margin. Here it is, the paragraph or the body is indented. Hmm. There's a lot of disturbance in the house. I hope you people are not able to get a lot of noise from my house, from my place, from my end?
No, ma'am.
Not an issue.
No, ma'am, it's fine.
Okay, no, I don't want it to be there, and therefore I have to make an effort. So you are using your letterhead stationery, right? I told you about it that there's a plain paper which the company provides, which the organization prints for itself to write all these business letters, and it's called letterhead stationery. And this is what it looks like. You know, on top you have the details of the company. This is a letterhead for a college. So all the details of the, so you will just use this to send out all your formal business related official interactions. And then these are the this is the structure of a business letter. There is a heading here is the sender's address. Date has to be written in a certain way. I'll let you know as to how the dates have to be written. The inside address is the letter of the addressee, the address of the addressee, the person who would be receiving it. And then salutation is how you address him, dear sir, ma'am. And subject line, body of the letter, subscription or complimentary clause, and then the signature blocks. The signature block means the signature part where you will put your signatures, append your signatures. So heading is your full name of the organization, the full address, telephone number, everything is written in this fashion. 6th March 2000, 2014 is the English style. 6th March, 2014 is the Oxford University style, and the American style is March 6, 2014. The prevalent ones are the American style and the Oxford University style. You will find that these are the more commonly used formats for dates. Okay, March 6, 2014 or 6 March, 2014. The English style is no longer used much, but then people can use that also. And date is on the left hand side. I told you we will be using the full block format. Majority of the people use the full block format where everything is with the left margin, and as it is easier to type it out and easier to communicate, easier to the formatting is much easier, and that's the more prevalent one. And the inside address is the receiver's name, the name of the receiver, the addressee, his company's name, the street, state, zip code, everything. The same address will also appear on the envelope. So the inside address is there in the business letter and on the envelope also. And if you're writing internationally, then the addressee's country should follow in capital letters. So the general manager, corporate communication, this is how the inside address will be written. And the country is written in capital letters, USA. It's an international communication, so you are writing USA in capitals. Is written places, 2 spaces below the inside address. So there would be a double spacing after inside address. The addressee's address, the receiver's address is the inside address. And after that, 2 spaces, and then you write dear sir or dear ma'am. And I told you comma can be used in full block format, and in very formal ones we use the colon also. And the subject line is where you indicate the subject of your letter. A lot of firms expect their employees to write the subject, and some of them write the subject between the inside address and the salutation. It occurs before the salutation. In many companies they write the subject after the salutation. Okay, so there is a slight this thing here. It would depend on the preferred choice of the writer and the style which is prevalent in their organization, and accordingly you will adopt the format. So you can either have the subject line before the salutation so that it does not disrupt the flow. This is in fact a better way of doing it. When you put the subject line before the salutation, prior to the salutation, on top of the salutation, it is much better because you're done with the subject. And at one instance, the person who receives the letter knows that, okay, this is what the letter is about. So it gives them an idea. And then you address the person, dear so and so, and then there is no disruption, no subject after that. So you're going straight to the matter and you're explaining your point there. So this is a better way of doing it rather. And in the simplified block format, only subject is written. I told you there is no salutation. So you go straight to the matter and the subject is written in the capitals, in all caps. So in some cases, it appears below the salutation, and sometimes it is placed above the salutation. Much better. Now, this one is where it has been placed below the salutation. Dear Mr. Kumar, and then you're writing your subject. Information regarding last week's inspection. This is after the salutation, you have written your subject. If you put the subject on top of Dear Mr. Kumar, it would look much better. This is the one where it is done like that. So you are there's an attention line also added here. In many business letters, you also draw attention to some particular person. You want to attract the attention of a particular person who may not be the person to whom you have addressed the letter, but you want someone else to pay attention to that letter. So you can write the name of that attention. Attention line can be added. So attention personal manager, then the subject, and then dear Mr. Kumar. So this second style is the more common one where subject is done away with before you start addressing the stuff, the details to the person. So the body has to be broken down into 2 or 3 small paragraphs. Don't have a whole lot of information written. Keep it very brief. No repetitive lines. Avoid unnecessary repetition, and it is double spaced. So after your salutation, you will leave 2 spaces and then write the body, and it is not indented. The body starts right with the left margin, so no indenting is required. As we used to do earlier, indentation was quite common. Now, to keep it more typing friendly, we keep everything with the left margin. And again, use short sentences and have a very straightforward conversational tone in the body of your letter. The complimentary clause is the end of the letter. So again, it contains the courteous words, yours truly, yours sincerely. Nowadays, things have changed. Even these have become redundant. Nobody is using yours sincerely, yours truly as much as we are using a single word complimentary ending. So a lot of times you will find people simply using sincerely. S or a cordially with a capital C is sufficient. You don't have to say yours sincerely and yours truly and yours faithfully. Rather, just a single sincerely or a cordially will be good enough. And that's quite prevalent nowadays. And it's a courteous way of ending your letter and is used in also informal letters also. The signature block is again something which will come after your complimentary close, and it includes your signature, your name and title. So you will sign the letter, and underneath your signatures, your name and your designation will be mentioned. And every letter has to end with a signature. The letter will not have that value if it is not signed. Okay, an unsigned letter is of no value, of no consequence. Till the time the signature is not there, it will have no worth. So the moment the signature is added, which means whatever information is being shared is authentic, is valid, and the signature block is 4 lines below the compliment. There is ample space. As soon as you write sincerely, there will be 4 lines and then the signature. So it's not double space, but 4 spaces like this. Sincerely, and then you're leaving 4 spaces and then doing your signatures and then the name of the person. And wherever you feel that the name will be confusing, a person called Santosh Singh will be assumed as a man, not as a woman. There you may have to specify your gender also. Here it is Miss Santosh Singh. So it's a lady, it's a woman who's writing this letter. And therefore, wherever you feel that your name can put the reader in doubt, right? If your name can put the reader in doubt, now in our case, we have a Prabjot can be a man also, and a Prabjot can be a girl also. We have Prabjot Singh and Prabjot Kaur. So wherever you feel the name can leave the reader in doubt, then try to include your courtesy title, which indicates your gender. So Miss or Mr. can be added within parenthesis within brackets. Parenthesis is your bracket. So here it will not leave any confusion. It will clear the confusion, clear the air, and the person receiving the letter would know that the writer is a lady and not a man. Right? And there is ample space after the complimentary clause, sincerely, for the signature part. And if you're writing your letter on a plain paper, then the company's name in capital letters has to be there, and double space it below the complimentary clause. So it is going to be written something like this: signature sincerely, comma, and then the company's name in capital letters. If you're writing it on plain paper, because you've not used a letterhead, you've not used the company letterhead. So here in the signature block, you will first write the name of the company in capital letters, and then your signatures, and then Mr. Atul Chauhan and the president. So it will be something of this kind. So you have to include the sender's name and title 4 lines below the company's name. So again, sincerely from this company, and 4 lines are left, spaces have been left, and then Mr. Atul Chauhan, president, is the one who signed that letter on behalf of his company. The other additional elements which are there in a business letter are your addressee notation, attention line, subject line, enclosures, copy notation, mailing notation, and postscript. Right? Again, these are all part of business letter. So let's see what these elements are. What is addressee notation? Whether the letter has to be personal, confidential, that is defined by your addressee notation, right? And we write that within the letter also. Okay, in all capital letters, we will write personal, or we will write confidential. And the same is, uh, generally, it's not necessary that each letter will have to have this. This is an additional element. If you think that your letter is very confidential and that needs to be maintained and mentioned, then you would want to mark it there in the letter, so that the reader knows that he doesn't have to share that information here and there, right? So it will help to understand the letter in that perspective, that okay, the details here are something that for which confidentiality needs to be maintained. So it will be something like this. So addressee notation will look something like this. So this is the addressee's inside address, and on top of the inside address, you have written that it is a confidential letter. And the attention line, I told you, where you want to draw someone else's attention other than the person to whom you are writing, you can mark their name in the attention line. Okay, or it could be the same person, or it could be someone else also. So the attention of a particular person or a particular department, not necessarily a person, but say a designation or another department, has to be drawn for quick action. Then you can mention that person, that department in the attention line, something like this. Where Peachtree Lecture Bureau is the inside address, the receiver's address, the addressee's address, and just on top of it, you have mentioned that you would want to draw the attention of the scheduling coordinator there. You have marked your letter to a organization, but it is not specifically marked to any person, but you want to draw the attention of the scheduling coordinator in that branch, in that company, in that organization. And enclosures is whatever you have attached with your official letter, with your business letter. So you generally write enclosures below the signature block, right? If there are any other documents, tables, charts, lists you have enclosed along with your letter, then those have to be mentioned like this. Enclosures There are three things enclosed with the letter: resume, photograph, draft. Or enclosures, there is a report of 10 pages enclosed with the letter, and there is a list of participants. So it has to be mentioned like this. What is copy notation? The circulation part. Who would the letter be circulated to? So you may be writing it to one person, but you may want to copy mark it to your own boss, so that your boss knows and is in the loop, is in the picture, that this communication has taken place between you and the other person, right? So it indicates the same message will be sent to some other people. So copy notation is CC, which is generally called courtesy copy or complimentary copy, that the exact same letter will be marked to someone else. A copy of the same letter, exact letter, will be handed over to the other people who should be in the loop, who should be in the know-how that this exchange has taken place. And when you have, you are copy marking it to more people, it can be copy marked to 4 or 5 people. Say the director issues a letter, and she wants to copy mark it to all the HODs, or to the chairman, to the manager, and all the HODs. Then their names will be mentioned in their order of rank. So the highest rank holder will be mentioned first, and then the lower ranks will go down, and then all these people, the chairman will be given a copy of that letter, a same copy of that letter. The chief executive person will be given a copy of the same letter, vice chancellor, pro vice chancellor, director of IIMS, IIEM, all of them. Wherever you feel that two people have the same designation, then the alphabetical order is followed, right? And mailing notation is how are you sending the letter. The letter has been sent by registered post, by courier, by speed post. That is mentioned in the letter itself. The mailing notation is written in the letter, and the same mailing notation will go on the envelope also. Right? So the inside address is there in the letter, and it is written on the envelope. Similarly, the mailing notation that the letter has been sent or has been received will be received to you by registered post or by speed post, that will be mentioned. So where is it placed? It is placed at the top of the letter above the inside address on the left hand side, like this. Oh, it's not mentioned here. So we've come straight to the postscript here. So I'll show you in the letters which are going to be there where the mailing notation is. And postscript is what? Which we write at the end of the letter, PS. Generally, we should not write it. Avoid postscript as far as possible. Any afterthought that comes to your mind, which you think you want to convey, is generally written in the postscript, but it shows that your letter is very unplanned and unprepared, or you have written it with hurry and carelessness. Therefore you missed out on that important detail and you've written it as the postscript. So wherever possible, avoid the use of postscript in order to show that your letter was a planned one, a well prepared one. But wherever sometimes you have to give some additional information, there also you might want to add a postscript at the end of your letter. Sometimes in sales letters, they are used as the punchline. And this is the mailing notation. See, right after the date, you write speed post, that this letter has been sent by speed post, and it's a personal letter. So you've also mentioned the addressee notation. The person who's receiving it will know that this is a personal reference being made to him, right? So personal reference is being made to him, personal complaint is being made to him. And then the inside address, the receiver's address, then the attention line is to Mr. Rohan Kumar, who's also the recipient of that letter. It has been addressed to Rohan Kumar only. The same person is receiving the letter, and you are drawing his attention to that letter, that some urgent action needs to be done. Attention means kind attention here means we require urgent and prompt attention from you. So generally, to draw the attention of the person for some prompt action, we write it separately. So this is what it looks like. Avoid looking at the things which are on the left margin, date, mailing notation. Just see what is there on the right side, and you will know that this is how it will be structured. The letter would be structured. So subject line after the salutation, the subject line can be written before the salutation also, prior to the salutation also. And then the complimentary close, yours sincerely, signature block, Mayank, his name, designation, enclosure 1, you have copy marked it to the chairman. And then the postscript is please instruct your office to give prior intimation in case of not supplying water on a particular date. So that's the postscript. Some additional important information you want to convey. So these are the different types of business letters. I've already told you credit letters are there where you want to request for a loan or inquire for a loan. Collection letters are there where you have given payment to people and you want to get it back from them. You know, you have given the money on credit to people and you want to receive it back. So you write a collection letter for the same. You place orders with an order letter. Inquiries are made and you ask for price lists and catalogs through inquiry letters. Complaints, and you seek remedy to those for those complaints with a claim letter. And in the adjustment letters, once the complaints have been received and claim has been received, you try to take care of the claim. So then there are sales letter where you want to sell a product or a service, fundraising letters where you want to donate money or time, job letters are for your employment, and dunning letters are again letters which are requesting for payment. So I've already told you that your order letter, inquiry letter, claim letter, adjustment letters are informative in nature. Action letters, fundraising, job applications, they are persuasive in nature, where you wanting them to be persuaded with the facts you have shared. So claim letters are a formal claim, complaint, and adjustments are a settlement of that claim. When you're dissatisfied with the company's product or service, you write a claim letter and they have to settle it with a adjustment letter. So you don't express your anger, but you try to solve the problem in some well-meaning manner. So even in a letter of complaint or claim, be very clear about the purpose of your letter, and it's a claim, it's a complaint, and make sure that everything information is very factual. It's a genuine complaint and you have to give a proper explanation for that. And in the closing, you have to request that some necessary action should be made. Some kind of adjustment needs to be done by the company. And where can you seek or write letter of claim or complaint for these kind, or your goods are not matching the sample, or you've received damaged goods, or there is a difference in the price you had agreed upon. So in all such scenarios, you can shoot a claim letter or a complaint letter and see, or when the goods received are wrong, or they've been delivered late, or wrong in quantity, or have not been delivered at all, or the service has been poor, or they have been of a unsatisfactory quality. I hope I'm making sense, guys.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Right. So, what are the guidelines while writing complaint letters? You have to give very specific details, explain the problem, also attach all the necessary things, give them all the relevant details. Maybe you will have to share the bill number, the date, the time, item ordered, everything, and then express what your inconvenience is. What is the problem you are facing with that? And appeal to the supplier's reputation that you are a well established person. How can you not deliver the goods on time, or how could you deliver the wrong goods or wrong quantity, or how can there be a billing error? So you have to appeal to their sense of responsibility and fairness. So they should be, willing to handle your concern, your claim, with sincerity, and with making some prompt adjustment for the same. So you can very clearly state what kind of action do you expect from them, that you want a replacement, you want them to send another bill, another invoice with the correct pricing as agreed upon. So whatever action you expect out of them, that has to be clearly stated, and whatever adjustment you expect out of them, that has to be mentioned. And in reply to these claim letters or complaint letters, adjustment letters are written, right? So there you have to satisfy your customer, you have to safeguard your reputation. You don't want company's name to be spoiled, so you will make adjustments which are necessary or which are possible, because it will help you in having and establishing a long term business relation. So you pay proper attention to the complaint, just check it for its genuineness, if it is reasonable, if it is genuine, if you think that there could have been a problem of that kind from your end, then you will have to make it up to them, right? So you will apologize to them for the inconvenience that they have faced, and also help to restore their confidence in your organization. So you can't afford to be rude. The tone has to be where you are convinced that the writers are genuine in their query. And various reasons for the fault that has dissatisfied. So it could be a transport delay, it could be poor packaging, lack of expertise, inadequate stock, or a nationwide shortage. So you will have to figure out what have they mentioned, and whether you think it is a genuine thing, and these kind of issues could have caused inconvenience. Reason it out with your customers, or maybe accept their claims for the adjustment, and carry out a required redressal. So you have to thank the customer for bringing the mistake to your notice. Whether you agree or disagree, you have to tell him how you will try to correct the whole thing, remedy the problem, apologize that the problem occurred, and not be very overly dramatic here, and just explain how the mistake could have occurred. It could have occurred because of that they did not receive a supply because there's a nationwide shortage, or there could be inadequate stock and therefore they did not receive their delivery. So maybe you can admit that your firm has understood the problem, and it could be your fault, it could be the fault at your end, and you have to be very tactful in explaining their role, if any, if they are the ones who could also be having some role to play in the whole situation, and how you want to honor their claim. You have to remind them that you are trying to satisfy them, and you would honor their claim, and you would make the reimbursement or send them a pack shipment, or you've already dispatched a shipment, or you'll be sending it to them by hand, so that it does not get damaged, or whatever it is. And then you encourage the reader to look favorably towards your company and to the product in question in future also, that they would not face any such problems in future. And sales letters are written for selling your goods, services, and they're almost like an advertisement. A lot of products are sold out with the help of sales letters. So you want to send a sales letter to your various customers and clients, so that they will be willing to place an order for it, right? And sales letter enables the manufacturers to reach the buyers at a low cost. So I think you guys can go through these things. Good sales letters serves the following purpose. It promotes the sale of the product. What are the parts? They're similar parts only. What are the special offers you are giving them? What are the special features you are giving them in the product, in the sales? discounts, some new packages, something new incentives you are giving to the buyers, some cashback or something of that kind, some new scheme, some scheme where they can pay in parts or have an EMI, something of that kind. So there shouldn't be any exaggeration. Don't exaggerate that your product is something magical, but just present the facts as they are. And special bargain offer, you know, that it has a limited time. So all those things can be made to persuade the customers into going for your product and service immediately and promptly. And then inquiries are also made. I told you in various businesses, people want to inquire about the quality, the price, what kind of goods are available, can they be purchased. So letters of inquiry are also written, and then these are solicited ones and unsolicited ones. Some where the buyer is making his own initiative, the inquiry is being made by the buyer on his own, while some are being made in response to some advertisement by the seller. So that's a solicitor. You received a pamphlet, and that would be and you want to make an inquiry, then you would write a solicited inquiry. You've not received any, but you think that they can provide you with something, so you write a unsolicited inquiry letter. So I'm leaving some of these the letters of quotations are also written, where you want to get
Yes, ma'am.
prices on a competitive rate. So you might ask people to give you their price. So you can seek the quotations from 4 or 5 vendors. What is your price for these many copies? How much will you be offering it for? So similarly, you have 4 or 5 competitors, who will give you their price, lowest price, and then you can go for the lowest bidder. So this is also a way of conducting business where you want to get competitive rates, good products and services. And so the letter of inquiries can also be converted, after that to where price estimation is there, terms and conditions are mentioned, and this is what a sample of a quotation letter looks like, right? So where you want to get some product and you are asking people to send in their quotations, send in their prices for the number of pieces you are seeking. You can have a look at it later. Letters of order is once you have received the this thing, you want to dispatch the goods, deliver the goods, there you will be writing letters of order. So you have to be very particular with regards to how much quantity, how much size, and what are the specifications. And dunning letters are letters which are for payment. So you want to take back your balanced payment. So we write dunning letters, right? So we are demanding the payment we have made. And again, it has to be written peacefully, congruously, harmoniously, in a polite language. You send out few reminders, 2 or 3 reminders. The first letter will be a mild reminder, then the second one is a little more definite, the third one is more firm, where you can suggest any legal action can be initiated. And so with this we've come to the end of the business letters. And maybe this I've already shown you, but I'm showing it yet again. The full block format is the one which we will be using. This is the one we will be following. This is the full block format. Letterhead on top means that the name of the company and everything is there. Don't just write letterhead. You will have to create the name of the company, the complete address. But letterhead here means that it is printed. All the details of the company are there. Then the date, and then the inside address, salutation, body, everything flush with the margin. The spacing is right, double spacing after the salutation, no indentation in the paragraph. Then the complimentary close, and then the signature line, the designation. The semi-block format is something like this. The modified block format is something like this.
Semi-block, the paragraphs are indented. Modified, the paragraphs are not indented. And otherwise, they are exactly the same because the date and the complementary clause and the signature is on the right side. And this is the hanging indentation. We don't generally use it. So I think with that, we've come to the end of our discussion today. So I think we can call it a day then.
Okay,
I
ma'am.
hope the attendance has been taken.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubts, any queries, anything you've not been able to follow, anything you would want to know further with regards to these letters? You could be asked to, you could be asked a theoretical question wherein you have to, talk about the features of business letters or the different types of business letters. Or you could get a practical question wherein you would be asked to write say a job application letter. That's also kind of a business letter. Or you would be asked to write say a letter seeking inquiry for a particular good or seeking a claim for a particular good. So a business letter would have to be drafted by you people. So it could be in any of the formats. You could get questions out of this.
All right, ma'am.
Is there anything you would want to know?
No, ma'am.
How about the others? I can only hear Guinea speak.
No, ma'am, no.
No, ma'am.
Why no? Why no? Shouldn't you guys be asking something?
So clear है ना?
हाँ जी मैम.
कोई दिक्कत नहीं है कहीं? हाँ,
No, ma'am.
चलिए फिर let's call it a day. Take care everyone. Do we
Thank
have
you,
a
ma'am.
class tomorrow?
Thank you,
No,
madam.
ma'am.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
won't be
Yes.
we won't be having any theory class now, right? The theory class is over for this week for all the 3 sections. Do we have a class tomorrow?
Thank you, madam.
Ma'am, according to timetable, CSE1 has a class of theory only.
So we won't have a class for theory tomorrow since I've already taken 1.5 hours today.
Yes,
So I
ma'am.
won't be doing it tomorrow, right? And
All right.
मैम
हाँ जी बोलिए.
वाला जो हमें लैब फाइल में करना है
हाँ
मैम उसका प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट कैसे लिखना है?
हाँ मैं वो बता देती हूँ आप लोगों को. जो GD वाला है, it will be written in the form of points. Points
ma'am.
are easily read, and you will not write it in the form of a lengthy paragraph, and rather write down all the points which were generated during the course of the discussion.
मैम तो
Right?
मुझे सारे बच्चों के नाम याद नहीं एग्जैक्टली कि किसने
नहीं तो
क्या
आपने
point
नाम
use
नहीं लिखना है, नाम नहीं बताने हैं, just the points which came up.
किया. ओके
you
मैम.
know so
Okay, ma'am.
you will mention that this was one point, then this was another point, this was another point, that ways. See, if you want to present it more realistically, then you can say one of the points that came up was this, another point that came up was that
Okay,
there was a slight disagreement on this point. You can try to create it in the same fashion as a GD.
Okay, ma'am.
Otherwise, if you feel that it won't be possible for you to do it that way, then just list down all the points which came up during the course of the discussion. I think I asked each of the groups to evolve a consensus and come up with a conclusion. So mention
ma'am.
the conclusion. So what were the major points on which most of the group members agreed upon? So
Okay, ma'am.
that conclusion will have to be written in the end. And as far as your presentation goes, please prepare your presentation. We will be having presentations next week,
Okay,
right?
ma'am.
And this week, probably I won't do the presentations. Do I have a lab class now with any of the class sections tomorrow?
No, ma'am, not tomorrow.
CSC1 doesn't have a lab. So do I have it with CSC2 or IT1?
No, ma'am.
I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
it with CSC2. So I'm going to have it with CSP2, and I might do storytelling and other things. But just be prepared with your presentation. I'm not insisting on you people presenting it this week, since I came to know that some of you are busy with your back papers, and this is also the festive week, and we have Diwali at the at the end of the week. So I don't want to pressurize anyone and unnecessarily. But please gear up for the presentations in the coming week, the next
Okay,
week,
ma'am.
right? So you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
ample time on your hands to do that. And I will not be taking any classes on Saturday. It's a Diwali. And the theory for this week is over, since we've already engaged for 1.5 hours today. And I won't be having any more theory classes this week. While I might have the lab class tomorrow, it's Friday. So who do I have a lab with on Friday?
Ma'am with us, CSE1 batch A.
Okay. So would it be possible for CSC1 batch A to join CSC2, whichever group I'm taking tomorrow? Can we have a
Ma'am,
combined session?
ma'am, you may let me know the timings and I will surely let you know.
Okay. I let's then discuss that after this class.
Sure, ma'am.
And as far as the presentation activity has to be recorded in the file goes, let me again give you instructions with regards to that also. Uh, your presentation would be written in the practical aspect of your presentation. The introduction part of your presentation, the discussion part or the description part, and the conclusion part. So
All
whatever is
right,
the
ma'am.
topic given to you, you will create an introduction for it. Okay, this is the introduction part of the topic. How would you introduce that topic? Then what goes into the details of the topic? So the discussion and the description, and finally how the topic gets concluded. And then you will also be pasting the miniature versions of your slides, the slides you are creating, the PowerPoint you're creating on the left side of your practical file. So 10 small slides will be pasted on the 3 or 4 pages of your practical file covering this particular activity.
All right, ma'am.
Any other queries? Any other questions?
यस मैम मैम ये
Yes.
No, ma'am.
प्रेजेंट स्लाइड्स में कितने स्लाइड्स होनी चाहिए मिनिमम
मैंने आपको बोला है कि बहुत ज्यादा स्लाइड्स की जरूरत नहीं है, 8 से 10 स्लाइड्स बहुत है, बिकॉज आपको 5 मिनट का टाइम दिया गया है. A lot of you have been overshooting your time. We've had some presentations and they went up to 2 hours also. So I would want you people, want to restrict you people to 8 to 10 minutes. इससे ऊपर मत जाइएगा जरा भी. तो उन 8 से 10 मिनट के लिए when both of you speak, 8 to 10 slides are more than enough.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Kurspash.
Ma'am, when we had our lab class,
हाँ
when you told us about presentation, तो
हाँ
उसमें
हाँ.
ऐसे कहा था कि 2 minutes for one speaker, 2 minutes
Yeah,
for speaker two,
exactly.
and 1 minute for question round. So this is only the format I have written in official
अगर
book. And
अगर सब
everyone
लोग
is
उसको,
preparing
if
for
people
this.
stick to that, nothing like it. That is most that's a desirable format for me.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't
Everyone
want to
from
stretch it
IT1
too
is going
much,
to follow it.
क्योंकि वो ज्यादा स्ट्रेच हो जाता है तो वो 8 से 10 मिनट का, हमारे मैंने 10 से 15 मिनट की प्रेजेंटेशन लेने में हमारे को सबको कवर करने में बहुत टाइम लग जाएगा.
यस
It will become a very long drawn affair where I would be needing at least 2 lab classes. 4 hours of involvement would be required otherwise if you stretch your presentation too much. So if you can, stick to a timeline of 5 minutes, nothing like it. 5 to 6 minutes is perfectly okay with me. Two minutes each and 1 or 2 minutes to sum up and for any queries. I think we had a session yesterday and it became quite long, and that was one of the concerns I wanted to share here.
मैम IT1 का कब है प्रेजेंटेशन?
So अगर जो लोग prepared हैं, they can present tomorrow in the lab class. I have a class with CSC2
एंड जो अगर नहीं भी होंगे सो वी विल हैव अ स्टोरी टेलिंग सेशन, स्टोरी टेलिंग एक्टिविटी भी है, एंड आई ऑल्सो वुड बी ब्रीफिंग यू अबाउट द नेक्स्ट एक्टिविटी विच इज योर न्यूज रिपोर्टिंग एंड एंकरिंग if possible. And just be prepared with your presentations by next week. At least next week तो करना ही है ना, इस week अगर नहीं भी होगा at least next week तो आप अपने तैयारी रखिए. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any other question? And please don't wait. A lot of you I think keep waiting कि हाँ जिस दिन होगा 5 बजेंगे उससे पहले या उसके बाद हम भेज ही देंगे. So try to send in your work early because it becomes easier for me to go through all those things, files, and there's so much, you know, that I have to go through. And considering there are 3 sections and a whole lot of material that comes my way, it becomes easier for me if some of you keep posting stuff, so I get ample time to go through them. ये तो last minute पे मेरे पास ढेर लग जाता है, then it kind of becomes a little too much for me also. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Good of you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.